Planet Earth is mostly covered in water, but today, I'm not focusing on the water itself. Instead, I'm diving into what's hidden beneath, whether in oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, deltas, or other waterways. Over the ages, humanity has left countless things in the water, many of which have been rediscovered in the most unexpected ways. So, here are 20 of the most bizarre underwater discoveries that no one can fully explain. Number 20. The flamingo tongue snail. Now, how about a weird ocean creature first of all? In this case, I'm talking about the flamingo tongue snail, which sounds like truly the oddest creature ever. Even though we all know that there's got to be something weirder than this out there, you might think that because of the creature's name, it is some kind of pink snail, but it's actually not the case. It's really bright yellow and orange while it has black markings on it to help it stand out. What may be the most odd thing about this creature, though, is that what you're looking at on top is actually not its shell but a mantle of tissue that's all around it. And then, when the creature is attacked, that mantle will actually recede a bit, which makes the snail likely look quite weird and freaks out the predator that's trying to eat it. Whatever works to keep things alive, but it still makes you wonder why it has the name that it does. Number 19. The Greenland shark. If I'm going to be talking about bizarre things that are found in the ocean that nobody can explain, I have to talk about one of the most fearsome species that exist in all of the world, and that would be the shark. Good news for all of you, though, is that the Greenland shark is not as aggressive or as ferocious as a great white or a tiger shark or a hammerhead. The thing that makes them unexplainable is that they have an incredibly long lifespan. You may be thinking, well, how long can they live? And that's the tricky part. Nobody technically knows their upper limit as a species. The Greenland shark is heavily understudied, mainly because of the frigid conditions in which they live off the coast of Greenland. That all being said, based on the ones that have been studied and taking some guesses based on what they found, the sharks can apparently live up to 500 years. Now, that may seem insane, but we do have some pieces of proof to back it up, at least partially. For example, the Greenland shark cannot have children until it's 150 years old, and then, when the female gets pregnant, she'll sometimes hold the pups for up to 18 years. The irony of this longevity is that they're actually an endangered species. They were hunted both for their oil and then by fishermen who saw them as dangers to other Greenland fisheries. Conservation efforts are ongoing right now to try and fix this problem, so hopefully, we can continue to study these beautiful sharks and figure out how they've lived to be so long. Number 18. The bloody bellycomb jelly. There are all kinds of jellyfish in the ocean, both venomous and benign, and there are things like the bloody bellycomb jelly. As you can see, it's a creature that absolutely stands out from the pack, as you can basically see right through it, and it's glowing bright red. The reason for this is that this is one of the many ocean creatures that has bioluminescence. That's basically nature's version of glow in the dark, but it's not about stickers or paint. It's happening inside of the living creature, especially in the ocean. It's one of those things that feels almost otherworldly the first time that you see it. Even plankton light up in the dark like little neon signs drifting all throughout the water. Bioluminescence is actually a chemical reaction that takes place on the inside, where an animal produces a molecule called luciferin, and when that reacts with oxygen, it then produces light. The process is controlled by an enzyme, and that helps to speed things up. And it's pretty efficient as well. Most of the energy actually goes into making the light, not heat, which is perfect for the cold and dark of the ocean. The bloody bellycomb jelly certainly does have this ability, but it will also turn it off so that predators can't easily find it in the dark depths of the ocean itself. It kind of puts you in a sense of awe on how evolution has played a part in making it happen, and yet it is a real creature in the end. Number 17. Lost locomotives. I'm going to end this video on a truly mysterious note, but in the best of ways. If you look into the waters of the world, you'll find all manner of vehicles that have been lost in them for one reason or another. There are cars and ships and planes, motorcycles, the works. However, trains are something that you would be hesitant to think about ending up in the water, except in New Jersey. There is an ever-enduring mystery featuring two locomotives from the 1850s that are about 30 meters below the surface of the water. They were models which were only made for a short time because they became obsolete nearly as soon as they were produced, and that's what you would file under irony. But there is a twist. Nobody knows where they came from. Quite literally. There are no records of these two locomotives ever being made, and no record of them being sent to New Jersey in any kind of way. They're just sitting there at the bottom of the water. One common belief amongst those who have looked into these locomotives is that they were actually on a ship and somehow were lost at sea via a storm that knocked them off. However, if that would be the case, there would be a record of them, yet there isn't. And these two simply remain off the coast of New Jersey today. Number 16. The Bloop. I promised that I would show you a few sounds of the ocean, and here is the second one that you're seeing. The The bloop was a unique sound that was heard in the ocean back in 1997. What made it unexplainable, though, was that the noise's sound and frequency made it hard to pinpoint in terms of its source. I could tell you that it came from the South Pacific Ocean, but not much else. As more research was put into the sound, the common theory became that it wasn't from any kind of animal but from either tectonic shifting plates or icebergs that were breaking apart. In fact, these sounds were able to carry across the ocean, and it really highlights just how much the water can carry a tune. Now it's time for today's topic. Marine biologists surveying a remote trench off the coast of Western Australia made an astonishing discovery during a 2025 expedition near the Rowley Shoals. While diving at a depth of around 70 meters, marine researcher Nina Schultz encountered an enormous octopus-like creature never before recorded by science. Captured on video, the creature measured nearly 25 feet across, with thick, muscular arms and a semi-transparent mantle that pulsed with shifting, bioluminescent patterns. At first glance, it resembled the giant Pacific octopus, but upon closer observation, the anatomy didn't match. Its head structure was more rigid, its coloration constantly changing in a ripple-like fashion, possibly for communication or concealment. What shocked scientists most was a trail of mucus it left behind, which was later collected and analyzed. DNA testing at the Australian Institute of Marine Science revealed a 9% genetic difference from any known cephalopod, enough to classify it as a new genus. Experts from around the world are now focusing attention on this region, which may hold other unknown species. The dive team has since suspended further operations in the area until more is understood about the creature's behavior. For now, it remains nameless, a mysterious giant lurking in Australian waters. Number 15. The sunken city of Cuba. In 2001, a survey team was doing an expedition in the waters off of Cuba when they found a series of structures that seemed to be man-made. The catch this time was that when rumors of a sunken city came into play, the media got a hold of the story, and they began sharing the possibility around, even though there wasn't any proof that it was indeed the case. Surely enough, as more research was conducted, including by National Geographic, the details just didn't line up. This includes how, at the depths that they were found at, the city would have been built about 50,000 years ago. So once again, it was determined to be just another natural structure that appeared to be man-made. Number 14. Lake Michigan Stonehenge. To help show you just how strange things are going to get in this video, I'm going to go straight into the deep end with a reference to one of the strangest things on planet Earth today, and that would be Stonehenge. Stonehenge is the mysterious, incredibly bizarre stone structure in the UK that has been around for thousands of years, and nobody really knows why. I have talked about it many times on this channel, and the mystery still doesn't add up for that thing. But why am I bringing this wonder of the world up? Well, that's because in Lake Michigan, there's a different pile of arranged rocks that was discovered some time ago, and it was so strange that it was soon referred to as Lake Michigan Stonehenge. Arguably the most bizarre thing about the discovery is not the rocks themselves but the fact that it was discovered in 2007. It had been there for all of history and much of what came before, and it was now only being rediscovered again, not to mention it was found during a routine survey of the lake. As you can see, they are indeed a series of stones that were arranged in a certain way, and based on the age, it might have been placed there about 10,000 years ago. That's important because it makes this Lake Michigan Stonehenge one of the oldest structures in what is now the United States. So then, what exactly was it doing there? The belief is that when it was first created, Lake Michigan, as we know now, wasn't as expansive as it is now. As such, there were literally, and likely, tribes of people living in the area. The tribes in question are a bit of a mystery. However, what is known is that they had some artistic ability because they carved out a variety of shapes on the rocks of Stonehenge itself. Perhaps we may never figure out the mystery of the entity, but it's a cool thing to randomly discover in a famous lake. Number 13. The Lost City of Dvarka. As I've discussed multiple times up to this point, the ocean has a way of taking things and leaving them in its depths until someone comes along to rediscover it. And in the case of India, the thing that many archaeologists and historians have been looking for was the lost city of Dvarka, which is not to be confused with the current city of Dvarka, which is a key Indian pilgrimage site. The lost city of Dvarka is actually a key part of Hindu mythology and was said to have been lost to the Arabian Sea once upon a time. And if you're thinking, we clearly haven't found it yet, you'd be half right. It's true that it hasn't been found as a full-on city, as has been the case in many others lost to the depths, but it has been found in traces. Over the last 4 decades, there have been plenty of expeditions off the coast of the current city to find the lost ancient one, and almost every time, there have been traces that have been found. Artifacts dating back to the period in question have been discovered, as have foundations which appear to be man-made. And should this truly be found, it would be a cornerstone of India's history and could potentially be the oldest city in the history of the world to have ever been rediscovered. Number 12. The Biminy Road. One of the classic things that humanity loves to do when it finds something unexpected is wonder whether it was humanity that came up with the item that was found or if it was just a creation of nature itself. It's a simple question that sometimes doesn't have simple answers, especially when what you're looking at seems to be impossible to have been made naturally. One great example of that is the Biminy Road in the Bahamas. It's an underwater formation that was discovered in 1968 and has been debated about ever since. The road itself is made of limestone blocks that are arranged in such a way that a lot of people think it's some kind of man-made construction that simply sunk beneath the water a long time ago. However, when some divers took a deeper look into the road, that's when they found that it may have just been a natural occurrence that merely shaped itself into looking like a road or a wall or a man-made entity. For example, there aren't a bunch of these limestone rocks all stacked up on each other as you may expect from a wall, nor are there any of the main rocks cut into via tools that, as far as anyone could see, there were also no markings, inscriptions, indents, or more that could be interpreted as pictures or other symbols. However, as you may have guessed, there are plenty of people who dispute these findings. Even just trying to figure out the age of the limestone blocks is going to bring about plenty of debate. But then why are people so hung up on it all? Well, simply put, if it's a potential man-made entity, that could pose a new layer of history for the area. If it's just a natural formation, though, it's a cool thing, but not much more than that. Number 11. Underwater crop circles. While I'm going to be talking about underwater crop circles, I am not talking about it in the sense of aliens. I'm talking about it in the sense that people saw these strange markings underwater and then compared them to crop circles up on the surface. And once again, it's just humans being lazy with their naming. The patterns were first discovered by divers in 1995, and as you can see, the crop circles are incredibly elegant and definitely not made naturally. So that begs the question, what is it that made these patterns? For a time, nobody honestly knew, and it got more strange when they kept popping up. However, eventually, people learned that these were made by puffer fish, one of the deadliest fish in the world today because of the venom that's in its body. As it turns out, the puffer fish will actually wriggle around in the sand and loose sediment of certain areas in order to make these patterns to attract a mate. It's true, and the female actually judges them based on how good the patterns are. These patterns are not small, however, as they can sometimes be 2 feet in diameter. So clearly, the puffer fish put a lot of effort into this to attract their female mate. Number 10. Mysterious manganese balls. Depending on how much you pay attention to the news, you may know about these mysterious manganese balls that have been found in a variety of parts of the ocean. In fact, the spheres have been found in multiple oceans, and many people feel they could be a huge breakthrough in getting key rare earth minerals. But how are these balls formed? Well, the hard way, that is, by waiting. These nodules can take millions of years to grow, with some forming at a rate of just a few millimeters every million years, making them some of the slowest growing natural formations on Earth. What's even more fascinating is that their cores can be made of anything from a shark tooth to a tiny piece of rock, which acts as the seed for the metals to accumulate. The sheer abundance of these nodules on the ocean floor has sparked debates about their potential value, with some scientists calling them a treasure trove of resources. However, their removal could disrupt delicate ecosystems that have existed undisturbed for millennia. Some of these spheres have even been stated to be the size of a bowling ball. There are some out there who wish to harvest these spheres for things like making electric batteries, but a lot of people are fighting against that because the processes that could remove them from the ocean might be doing more harm than good. Number 9. The Yanaguni Monument. This is a monument that was found off the coast of Japan and is another one that has sparked all kinds of debate about whether it's a natural formation or it might be something that people actually came up with. Not unlike a lot of things on this list, the Yanaguni Monument was found upon accident. A diver in 1986 was attempting to do some studies on sharks when he came across this rock formation, and after he found it, he then reported his findings to university scientists who then began diving into it to see what it was really all about. What makes the Yanaguni Monument so intriguing is its sharp, angular edges and terrace design, which seem almost too precise to be natural. Some have even compared its structure to ancient ziggurats or pyramids, leading to theories that it could be the remnants of a lost civilization. Others point to the presence of what appear to be steps, platforms, and even carvings, which only deepen the mystery. Still, skeptics argue that these features could simply be the result of natural erosion and tectonic activity over millions of years. The stones are apparently quite old, as some have stated they could be up to 20 million years in age, which would be quite a feat, and yet, because of how the formation looks in certain visual curiosities, there are some, including credited geologists, who feel that it's something that was made by man. However, Not even the Japanese government is willing to go that far in saying that. Number 8. Las Cusus de Malpek. Now, earlier I talked about a memorial that people have been buried in. However, that's technically not an underwater graveyard. The place known as Las Cusus de Malpek off the Canary Islands absolutely is, and it's one that is meant to remember and honor a horrific event. Long story short, a group of missionaries were en route to the island of La Palma when they were boarded by pirates. Those pirates wasted absolutely no time in killing the missionaries by literally dumping them overboard and then watching them drown. The site where the crosses now rest is both haunting and serene, as the underwater memorial has become a place of reflection for divers who visit. Over time, the crosses have been embraced by the ocean, with marine life weaving around them and coral beginning to grow on their surfaces. This blending of tragedy and natural beauty has turned the site into a unique underwater sanctuary. It's not just a memorial but also a reminder of the resilience of faith and the enduring impact of those who dedicate their lives to helping others. However, while they were gone in physical form, their desire to help people was not lost on those who heard the story. In 1742, the Pope declared the murdered men martyrs. Now, fast forward to 2000, and 40 crosses were placed in the water to remember all of them. Another was put near a lighthouse, so the names could be forever etched in history. Number 7. Truck Lagoon Ghost Fleet. In World War II, the most important battles were not waged on land. They were actually won in the waters of the Pacific and the Atlantic. And at one point in time, the United States was almost out of major ships, and in the war against Japan, which was largely a naval force, they needed every ship they could get. Eventually, with forces restored, they went toward Japan and bombed several locations that had a lot of their fleets, and this included Truck Lagoon. What makes Truck Lagoon so haunting is the sheer scale of destruction. Over 60 ships and hundreds of aircraft were sent to the bottom in what became one of the most devastating attacks on a naval base in history. The wrecks are eerily preserved, with tanks, ammunition, and even personal belongings still visible, offering a chilling reminder of the lives lost during the battle. Over the years, the site has transformed into a vibrant underwater ecosystem, with coral and marine life thriving amidst the wreckage. For divers, it's both a historical treasure trove and a somber memorial to the horrors of war. The place housed numerous ships that were damaged or straight up sunk to the bottom. And fast forward to today, and the Ghost Fleet, as it's known, refers to the ships that remain at the bottom of the water and can now be visited by those who wish to dive in and see the wreckage from wars past. Number 6. The SS Thistlegramorm. To hear that a ship ended up in the water after being sunk is nothing new. I've already shown you some examples of this, but in the case of the SS Thistlegramorm, it's both bizarre and famous because of why it was sunk, who rediscovered it, and what it's doing today. The SS Thistlegramorm was a steamship made by the British back in 1940, and that meant that it was around during the time of the Second World War, which is where it met its sad ending. It was bombed by German aircraft and was promptly sunk into the waters of the Red Sea in 1941. What makes the wreck so fascinating is the cargo it was carrying at the time: military supplies like rifles, trucks, motorcycles, and even train carriages, all of which are still scattered across the seabed. These remnants of war have turned the site into an underwater time capsule, offering divers a glimpse into history frozen in time. The ship's structure itself has become a haven for marine life, with vibrant coral and schools of fish now calling it home. Many divers describe the experience of exploring the wreck as both haunting and awe-inspiring, given its mix of historical significance and natural beauty. However, a decade later, it got brand new life thanks to one of the most famous explorers of the time period. In the early 1950s, Jacques Cousteau discovered her by using information from local fishermen. He then raised several items from the wreck, including a motorcycle, the captain's safe, and the ship's bell, and even wrote about the ship in his book The Living Sea. So one could argue that its sinking made it much more famous than its time as an actual ship. As for what it's doing now, it is still on the bottom of the Red Sea and has become a diving site for many people, not to mention it's likely popular with the plants and animals that reside in the area. Number 5. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. Arguably one of the most incredible and bizarre findings in the history of underwater diving is that of the Baltic Sea Anomaly, one that was so great. There are mysteries and conspiracy theories that surround it even to this day. One of them being that if you look at its shape from above, it kind of looks like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Why does it look that way? Well, the world may never know. Adding to the mystery, some researchers have claimed that the anomaly has strange grooves and patterns on its surface, almost as if it were intentionally carved or shaped. Others have pointed out that its perfectly rounded edges and unusual symmetry make it hard to believe it's a natural formation. There's even speculation that it could be the remnants of an ancient civilization, a long-lost structure buried beneath the sea for thousands of years. Of course, The more outlandish theories suggest it might be a crashed UFO, which has only fueled the fascination surrounding it. As the name would suggest, it was found in the Baltic Sea via some divers who were doing treasure hunting way back in Year Missing. And ever since then, people have been wondering how this anomaly was made, what it's doing there in the Baltic Sea. There were samples taken, and it was apparently crafted out of things like granite, sandstone, and other materials to make sense for the area it's in now. If you wish to go down the rabbit hole, there are claims that weird things take place when you try and examine the Baltic Sea anomaly, including that electronics go haywire and that taking readings of it never actually works out. That cannot be confirmed nor denied, but you can understand why people might make them because the thing truly doesn't look like it's from our world. Number 4. The Neptune Memorial Reef. And now for something that I didn't even expect to find on this list. The Neptune Memorial Reef is a quite unique man-made creation which can be found off the coast of Florida. The twist is that this man-made reef serves as a special type of burial site for people. How does it work? Well, quite uniquely, the monument itself is made of concrete, and so people who wish to be buried there when they die are cremated and mixed into the cement so that their remains are literally part of the reef itself. What makes it even more fascinating is that the reef is designed to resemble the ruins of an ancient lost city, complete with columns, arches, and statues, giving it an almost mythical feel. It's not just a resting place for the departed but also a thriving habitat for marine life, as fish, coral, and other sea creatures have made it their home. Divers who visit the site often describe it as both eerie and beautiful, a place where life and death coexist in harmony. The project also serves as a reminder of how human innovation can contribute to environmental conservation in unexpected ways. At a measurement of 56,000 square meters, it is the largest man-made reef in the entire world and, equally important, it's one which aims to be expanded over time. Another key thing to note is that everyone whose remains are in the reef have a plaque placed upon the memorial to ensure that they are never forgotten. Number 3. Underwater Sculpture Park. Here is the Molinaire Bay Underwater Sculpture Park. It's an actual underwater park that's full of statues that people intentionally place there. You can find it in the Caribbean Sea off of Grenada, but that leaves the question of why is it there? Well, that would be because an artist wanted to invite people into the waters of the bay so that they could then observe the wonders that the environment was doing. Over time, these sculptures have become more than just art. They've transformed into artificial reefs, providing a habitat for marine life to thrive. Coral, sponges, and other sea creatures have started to grow on the statues, blending art and nature in a truly unique way. The park also serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting marine ecosystems, as it draws attention to the delicate balance of life underwater. It's not just divers who are captivated by the sculptures. Marine biologists and conservationists have also praised the project for its environmental impact. And to do so, the artist made sculptures based upon actual people in the area, carved them out of concrete, and then put them underwater. There are now 65 of these sculptures in the bay, and sure enough, they are indeed popular with divers. Number 2. The Goosefish. There are creatures in the deep that you look at a single time and think, yes, I never want to see that again. You may think that something called a goosefish would be nice, maybe one that somehow has feathers or looks like it has a goosebill. But no, the goosefish are monstrous-looking creatures that are actually an entire family of sea monsters, and they're truly terrifying to behold. These creatures are known for their wide, gaping mouths filled with sharp teeth, which they use to ambush their prey in the darkness of the ocean floor. Some species of goosefish have a fleshy lure on their heads, which they wiggle like a worm to attract unsuspecting victims. Their ability to blend into their surroundings makes them even more unsettling, as they can remain completely still until the perfect moment to strike. Adding to their eerie nature, they are often found in some of the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, where few other creatures dare to venture. There are a lot of them that fit in their ranks, including anglers, which are scary things that I also don't want to talk about. Number 1. Upsweep. I'm going to ask you a basic question. What do you think that the ocean sounds like? Depending on how you picture the ocean, you may have a different answer, including the splashing of waves, the tides coming in and out, and more. However, there are sounds that are detected in the ocean, and I'm going to share a few of them with you on this list. The first one was known as Upsweep, which was recorded in August of 1991, and was a sound that was so loud, it spanned the entire Pacific Ocean. What made it even more mysterious was that the sound seemed to occur in bursts, almost like a signal, which only added to the intrigue. Some researchers even speculated that it could be linked to deep-sea creatures we have yet to discover, given how little we know about the ocean's depths. Others suggested it might be tied to shifting tectonic plates, as the Pacific is home to the infamous Ring of Fire. Despite numerous studies, the exact source of the sound remains elusive, leaving scientists and enthusiasts alike fascinated. That's a powerful sound indeed. As you may have guessed, Many people wondered if it may have actually been caused by an animal, not unlike how whale sounds can carry across a great distance. However, the prevailing theory, based on the sound's signature itself, is that it was actually caused by volcanic activity. That's everything from the mysterious depths of the world's waters and the wild discoveries made there, whether we were ready for them or not. Which of these finds do you think was the most bizarre? And which one did you think was actually kind of cool? Maybe there's another fascinating discovery that could have easily made this list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other awesome content popping up on your screen, and I'll catch you next time.